Okay, hi there boys and girls, and welcome back to the channel. I've been wanting to make this video for a little while now, focusing on tier 10 medium tanks, not necessarily the individual tanks themselves, but the style of play that comes with playing tier 10 medium tanks. To my mind, and obviously this is simply my opinion, they are without doubt the most difficult things to master in the game. Driving a tier 10 medium tank well is just incredibly difficult, and often underappreciated. If you have a really good game in a tier 10 medium, you'll do 3,000-4,000 damage, maybe get a couple of kills. You'll be pushing flanks, getting into brawls with much bigger and stronger tanks, probably dealing with your own TDs who want to, who need you to spot targets, and who probably don't drive tier 10 mediums themselves. If you do 4,000 damage in one of these, you've had a very, very good game. A Death Star can do that by hitting the fire button 3 times, and he probably hasn't driven very far, and he's certainly not pushed a flank of any type whatsoever. I'm not saying that there isn't a skill in or a value in having large hitting TDs on the team. Of course there is, but it is a very different skill set, and to my mind this is just simply the most difficult thing to do in the game. It's also the most rewarding. My opinion, these are basically the most fun tanks to drive in the whole game. They've got a good turn of speed, they've got good guns, they have massive DPM, they can take a bounce if you angle them correctly. You can get into brawls with much more powerful tanks and out DPM them and face hug them, side scrape them, and really punch well above the weight of the tank. So I think they're the most difficult things to drive well. I think they're the best tanks in the game to drive. They're just so much fun. The other challenge you have with these as well, of course, is if you're driving these in a tech tree version of a tier 10 medium. I own 4 tier 10 mediums, 3 of them tech tree tanks. The T62, the Object 140, and the E50M. Unless you play them well, get a good few thousand damage, pick up a kill, make active contributions to the game, you're going to make, even with premium account running, you're going to find it quite difficult to break even with your credits, especially if, like I do, you provision the tank up to the guilds. So if you're not playing them so well, and it's very difficult to consistently have good games at tier 10 for us normal folk, you can lose a hefty amount of credits pretty fast. So there's a huge amount of challenge and a huge skill set in driving these things well, but they are just so much fun, and definitely the tanks I enjoy driving the most. Certainly the tanks I wish to improve in the most. I certainly wouldn't class myself as a good med driver at tier 10. In fact, my tier 10 stats are not good at all, but they are without doubt the most fun tanks to drive in my mind. Now we get on to this tank, the 121B Invincible. This came on for sale about 2 years ago, I think. Bushka made a video on it when it first came out, and I mean, just look at it. It's absolutely spectacularly ostentatious. It's just ridiculously good looking tank, and the level of hate that you got if you bought one of these when they first came out was unbelievable. Even your own teammates would get in chat and get salty about it. It was just, I think it was one of those tanks that a lot of people wanted, and it was quite expensive, and if you had one, the amount of grief you got in chat was unbelievable. Now the reason that I focus on this tank is it's probably the tier 10 I drive the most. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. I prefer the Object 140 over the T62. The reason that I drive this one is because it's a premium tank. So it performs in a way that is very, very comparable to a T62 and an Object 140. But you have the the earning potential with this tank, because it's a premium tank. So it's not going to be costing you, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of credits every single time you just don't have a good game. Now, I mean, all of these Russian-style medium tanks, I mean, they're all great at so many aspects of the game. They're good at pushing, they've got good speed, they've got good guns, good armour, and the most satisfying thing you can do with them is you know, push a flank, get behind the enemy TDs or the enemy super heavy tanks, and just start farming damage into the back of their turrets. Not always easy to achieve, and you know, if you don't keep an eye on the mini-map and you don't make sure you know where the big monstrous TDs are, you can very, very quickly find that your game ends in about 30 seconds after you've been lit up by a couple of them. That's what makes driving these tanks challenging. But they're just so much fun to drive. I mean, you can just run around flanks, hit every edge of the battlefield, third-party fights, and getting at brawls with much more powerful tanks. And if you do it well, if you're having a good game, it is just so much fun. It's just so much fun. So I played this tank, I think about 4 or 5 games in it the other night, and I got a couple of good ones, so I thought I'd share those with you. I mean, they're good games for me, I'll be brutally honest. I am not an expert in driving these tanks, as I said earlier. I just really enjoy driving them, and I had a couple of games that I was quite pleased with. Didn't involve me getting blown up within 35 seconds, and they are actually quite interesting games to watch that focus on a couple of different aspects of gameplay, and I think highlight some of the challenges you get when you're driving these tanks. So yeah, our first game we're going to roll out on Vineyards, and it's an interesting game. Obviously, we're in a supremacy game now. The guys here, they want to go to the left flank. And that's fine, but Vineyards is one of those maps where you can guarantee the red team is going to cap, in this case B, which means you absolutely have to cap A just to offset that. You can't just all go around to the left, you're just going to lose too quickly on supremacy points. So despite the fact that the guys are going around to the left, I still want to quickly dash into A and at least secure us 1 cap, which is done, and I'm now I'm preparing to head off and join up the rest of the team. So having a quick poke here, and then we take a snapshot across there. Don't quite pull it off. I wish I'd saved that shot, because I think a grill drives past in a minute and I didn't have time to load up the HE. Oh no, not a grill, waffle track. However, I've been spotted, I've taken a bit of damage. So time to pull back, relocate, rethink. My teammates are pushing now on an isolated object 140. So going to head over here, do our best to put this fantastic gun to work and start getting the damage in. Whacking a nice bit of ram damage there as well. And yeah, I mean, these guns are just so much fun. I mean, they're accurate, they've got fast reloads, and you know, I mean, they do the damage. Yeah, very, very quickly getting targets cleared. Like that is one of the fun parts of driving this tank, and then you're already moving away at, you know, 40 kilometers an hour trying to find your next guy. Now we've got another bat chat who's isolated on the right flank here, and he's enjoying himself under no threat, just lobbing shells across the map here. So we can't let that go unchallenged. If nothing else, we need to get his gun turret facing somewhere else. So I'm going to try and close in on this guy and at least take his gun out of the game from the perspective of not putting damage into the rest of the team on the other flank. He decides not to do a runner for it, which is unusual for a bat chat. They normally try to head away pretty quickly and snipe from the edges, but I'm more than happy to accommodate the fellow. So we go in, get another nice ram in there for our first kill, and yeah, the game is pretty much over. 2 bases capped, only 1 tank remaining, who's by far and away across the other side of the map. So I'm going to do my best to get over here as quickly as this tank will allow. which is pretty quick for a tank that's got this kind of gun and this kind of armour. And they're just so much fun to drive. They just feel right when you drive them. Sorry for waxing a bit poetic there, but I really do enjoy these tanks. So we're going to finally close in on the last bad guy and do what you love to do best in these tanks, which is get behind a big armoured monster and stick shells in them. So yeah, clear him up pretty quickly. Not a bad game at all. Pretty convincing win. I think it picked up 2 kills and 3,200 damage there. And yeah, just a really fun drive in what is an excellent tank. Okay, so I have another battle in this tank, this time on Canyon. Now I've mentioned Canyon a few times as a map that Meds really do need to go and spot the B cap. You know, Meds and TD drivers sometimes are at odds with each other, but on this map, unless you get on B, I mean your TDs just can't spot targets. So that's what I'm going to do. We've got a couple of big hitting TDs in our team, a couple of grills. So I'm gonna head up here. I'm going to be pretty isolated. Our guys are all going to be on the other side of the map. My job is just to get these guys spotted and let the big boys do the business. I mean, I've been here, what, about 10-15 seconds. We're already up to 600 spotting damage. Now, you can't just remain passive all game. Obviously, you're going to want to come over and get the odd shot. I'd make, I think, a bad trade here. Yeah, so put a 300 odd roll in, take a 400 roll back, so that's not a particularly effective trade. But just roll back, keep the spots, let the TDs do the work. This guy is fantastic. I'm just going to pull back here, let him continue to push up to try and get shots onto me. And yeah, that's basically cost him his entire hit point pool by having to push up into the place where he was spotted and then just taken apart by the rest of the team. And that's yeah, it's not necessarily exciting, but it is a vital part of the game. Now, Yoke Panzer here is pushing round on me, so that's going to be painful. Already whacked one shot into him, whack another one in, so take a nice bounce there. And this part of the game is just absolutely insane. I don't know how I survive as long as I do. I get pushed on here by a couple of tanks. So, I mean, I'm okay brawling with this guy, and then I've got another guy who was the guy who tried to get me earlier who got wrecked, and they've both got their guns on me, and yeah, I'm still alive. I don't know how I'm managing it. Eventually I get a reload on, I clear one of them. I can't believe that this guy hasn't stuck one into the back of me, but he hasn't, and then this is just terrible. I mean, the fact I'm still alive is crazy, but I absolutely missed that shot to clear that tank. Absolutely gutted with myself. But you know, a good bit of spotting to begin with, and a good brawl. And by the time that I'm taken out of the game, I mean, obviously now the spots on B have been removed. But I mean, look at our TDs and our heavies. I mean, they're all on full health. They've been doing plenty of damage because of the spotting that I was doing at B. Now that I've been taken out of the game and they've lost the spot, they're just going to roll forward and take this team apart. And they're going to do it very, very quickly. And you know, all, not all, that's a little disingenuous, but primarily because these guys had targets, because I made sure they had targets. It's not a glamorous job. Nobody's going to thank you for it. But to my mind, that is the essence and the skill of driving a tier 10 medium tank. Do the job for the big hitters on your team. Get into a good brawl and punch above your weight, and bring home the win. Now, I do less damage in this game than I did in the last one, just under 2,000 damage. Pick up a second class mastery, but yeah, when you have a look at the XP awarded for the battle, I'm 5th in damage, but I'm actually the XP leader in the game, picking up more XP than any other tank. Now, the reason for that is going to become very apparent. Not only did I do 2,000 damage, 4,500 spotting damage by adopting that position. Quite frankly, by driving the tank the way that it should be driven on the map that it was on, and effectively playing a team game, I'm not going to lie, I'm sorry, I think that was a pretty vital contribution to that game, and shows the the skill set required to drive these tanks well, but also just how much fun you can have doing it. It was, I mean, yeah, they're just too much fun to drive, and yeah, 72,000 credits for that, so it doesn't even hurt me. Anyway, boys and girls, thanks for watching, and as always, good hunting, and bye for now.